Andrew, can I just ask, I think everyone listening in tonight, everyone who's involved in tennis, and this goes really to life as well, you've got to earn your stripes, right? Whatever occupation you're in, you start, you do an apprenticeship, you work your way up, and the results do the talking. So often we talk on our show, what should be the mark in tennis where players are at least making some sort of living out of the sport, as opposed to being break-even or making a loss. Now, for those who are, coming in, who play the 15K events, the 25K events on the men's side. The women's is a little different because there's no ATP Challenger Tour, so there's bigger prize money on offer. But often I think of players coming from Australia who've got to spend so much time abroad, and my question always to them is, how do they make this work financially? Have you got a view, or where does the ITF sort of sit at the moment? And I realise there's so many governing bodies, 7 in tennis, trying to collaborate and provide the best path forward. But, I think we all probably acknowledge that there should be more players making a more sustainable living out of tennis.
Oh, I 100% agree. So the ITF did a study, actually with Tennis Australia. You may well know Makar Reid, and we did a study of player earnings between 2001 and 2013. And the upshot of all of that was that just in covering basic costs, we're not talking about the cost of a coach, we're talking about travel and accommodation, there were about, at that stage, 336 men that could cover their basic costs with prize money, and about 250 women. Now, A, that's not enough, and B, the discrepancy between men and women is something that needs to close. So I think the bit that we've really been working on in the last couple of years is very much more of a kind of an activist approach to the calendar, so that we can give players swings where they can cut costs, they can play several weeks at a time in the same place, and particularly at that level between the 25s and the challengers on the men's side, and between the women's 100,000 and WTA Tour level on the women's side. Mm-hmm. But those are the kind of cuspal points between ITF-sanctioned and Tour-sanctioned events. We're actually working in very close collaboration with the tours to make sure that we're scheduling those swings so that players can perhaps play qualifying at the high level event and then move straight onto an ITF level event.
Yep.
The key challenge, as you've set out, the key challenge is how can we get more players sustainable in the sport, and part of that is some of those measures that we talked about. But also this year, Brett, we're looking to put in place a strategy for the next 3 to 5 years, and part of that is how can we, at lower levels, at the $15,000 and $25,000 level, how can we have swings of tournaments regionally so that players can go and play for a block of 3 or 4 weeks, can compete relatively cost effectively, and earn their points and move up. So there's a bit more that we have to do around that, because as you know, there's plenty of tournaments around the the littoral Mediterranean. There's Tunisia, Turkey, Egypt, Greece. But, we want to look at the viability of a regional hub in Southeast Asia. I know only too well, and I'm sure you could back that up as well, that, players from Oceania do have higher travel costs. And a lot of the time they are spending time away from Australia, in Europe, or in places where there are more opportunities to play. And I think we need to, rebalance some of that. So I'm totally on board with what you're saying.